All right, Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Nakakwadash. And what I said was all the praises, honor, and glory belongs to Yahweh, who is the Heavenly Father, in the name of his Son, Yahweh Shai, who is the Messiah, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus, in the name of the Holy Spirit, which in Hebrew is Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that were well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. And this lesson, um, I have been wanting to do for a minute, but I wanted to, I had to get some more precepts, go over some more precepts and things, right? But this lesson is going into Iran, all right, aka Persia, okay, because so another thing that's going on in the news is these Iran nuclear talks, these nuclear deal talks, man. All right, so I got my screen shared here. And by the way, if I have to go on mute, all right, or the screen freezes up, just skip ahead to the point where I continue to talk. All right, so lock it for any background noises you may hear. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this link up. So I went on Google, I typed in Iran news. So you have all this going on. All right, but then I go down here. It says Iran to meet 3 European powers ahead of next nuclear talks with U.S. All right. And it says here Iran U.S. nuclear talks to continue in Rome. You know, and then so I was like, basically what happened. Pretty much what is an Iran U.S. nuclear talk. All right. So it says here the Iran nuclear talks aim to limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of some economic sanctions imposed by the United States and other nations. Specifically, so they don't want to. Well, I'm gonna read it. It says specifically, the talks focus on preventing Iran from producing a nuclear weapon and ensuring the peaceful use of nuclear technology. All right. So they basically don't want Iran to have, nuclear weapons. Okay, let me just type something in real quick. Iran have nuclear weapons. It says here, no, Iran is not known to possess nuclear weapons. Iran has signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT), which prohibits the development of nuclear weapons, while Iran maintains that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. Some countries and international organizations remain concerned about Iran's intentions, particularly due to the discovery of secret nuclear facilities in 2002 and the accumulation of enriched uranium. All right, so they saying, it doesn't. Look at this going down here. It says this came out April 28th. It says Iran in process of acquiring nuclear weapons, Minister warns. All right, but basically the Iran U.S. talk, so I get make that clear, is they basically trying to limit Iran on having nuclear weapons. But at the same time, I think Iran wants certain sanctions lifted off of them by America. Certain American sanctions lifted off of them, right? So it says here, and this is on uh, Ambassadeur de France or Rome. I don't know how to say that, but it's on this website. I believe this is a French news website or something. But it says here, New York, April 28th, 2025. The minister it says I've just spoken at the United Nations Security Council to Rafael Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, whom I thank for being alongside me. I thank him for informing the Council about the risk of proliferation, i.e., the risk of the spread of nuclear weapons. It's the first time in more than 15 years that the Security Council has met in this format. I convened this meeting today before the situation is serious. Since the risk of nuclear proliferation has been so rare, let me just see if I can get to the point. Um, all right. Uh, but okay, because I'm just now finding this website, so Slovakia. All right, but it says here that they're in process of acquiring nuclear weapons. Now you can read the rest of that if you want. All right. So and it says here, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon yet. All right. So then I typed in what happened in the last Iran nuclear talk. It says the latest round of U.S. Iran nuclear talks held in Oman and Rome ended without a deal, though both sides expressed a commitment to continue the negotiations. Disagreements persisted on key issues, particularly Iran's right to enrich uranium, a point of contention for the U.S. The talks involved expert-level discussions and a framework for a potential nuclear deal, but significant differences remain. And the thing is, eventually, Iran is going to have nuclear weapons. All right, that's the thing. It's a part of Bible prophecy. When you go in the book of Second Ezra 15, all right, it's like when you read this chapter, it's like the Lord, man, you just see how the Lord controls everything. But I'm gonna skip down to uh, 28. Let me actually jump real quick. So I'm gonna read verse 20 real quick. So Second Ezra chapter 15, starting in verse 20. It says, Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them. All right. So the Lord is going to call these, in the Middle East, all right, and they'll gather and fight against each other in World War III for what they've done to Israel, you know, for what they've done to us Israelites. Verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom, thus saith Slakin. It says, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. I'm gonna stop right there. All right. So the Lord will bring judgment through World War III, all right, on these different nations for what they did to us Israelites. So World War III really is being brewed up because of what these nations have done to us Israelites. That's what it says right here. Okay. And in Joel 3, it also talks about the Lord. I'm gonna get it actually. Joel 3. Joel chapter 3, and the point is in verse 2. It says, For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. This is World War III. Right? It says, and will plead with them there, meaning judge with them there for my people, and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. So you see, World War III is being started for what these nations have done to us Israelites. We're the reason World War III is starting. All right. For what all these nations have done, the evil and atrocities and wickedness they've done to us, man. World War III is starting because of that. All right, but they don't understand that. The Lord is starting this because of what they've done to his people. Think if you were a God and your nation, and then you had a nation of people that you love out of all other nations, and all these other nations were messing with them and mistreating them, you know, and doing all sorts of evil to them. Wouldn't you want to get those nations back? You know, there it is. The Lord is going to have World War III start because of us, and then right after that, He's going to have us Israelites be in the power seat. Okay. But now back in 2 Ezra 15, I'm gonna jump down to verse 28 now. It says, Behold, in horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east. All right. Okay. And the east talking about the Middle East. All right. Because it's going to be a major because it's going to there's going that's going to be a major gathering place in World War III. Now it says here where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and a multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And this is talking about Arab nations. All right, and the many chariots is talking about their armies. Okay. Wait 1 second. And then the rest of it talks about basically saying that because they're gonna come like this, all right? They're gonna come in a way with a large army to that war. All right, but now verse 30, here's the point. Verse 30. It says also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. All right, and the Carmanians. Now, the Carmanians is talking about the Iranians. All right. Now, let me just prove that real quick. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to just type in Carmania. All right. No, Salaki. I'm going to type in Carmania, Iran. Okay. You type in Carmania on Iran. It says here on Wikipedia, Carmania is a historical region that approximately corresponds to the current province of Kerman, Iran. Okay. This Kerman province is the largest of the 31 provinces of Iran, and its capital is the city of Kerman. All right. It says, and was a province of many Iranic empires such as Medes, Achaemenid, Seleucid, Parthian, and Sasanian Empire. All right. But it has to do with Iran, you see? It has to do with Iran, aka. Let me just show you that um, Iran was also called Persia, right? Let me just see who changed Persia to Iran. It says the formal shift from referring to the country as Persia to Iran was initiated by Reza Shah Pahlavi, the king of Persia at the time. In 1935, he requested foreign delegates to use Iran in official correspondence instead of Persia. This decision was made during a Nowruz gathering on March 21st, 1935. Okay, so this is the man that you know had it go from Persia to Iran. Okay, but they're still the same place. All right, and Iran, as we know, or Persia, same thing, is also mentioned in Ezekiel 38. All right, but back in here, 2 Corinthians 15 and 30 says also the Carmanians, but the Iranians during World War III, says raging in wrath. All right, because something meaning what? Something is going to trigger them. Okay, raging in wrath means stir up. So something is going to trigger Iran, you know, to come in wrath, against during World War III. Something's going to trigger them to do that. You see, so it says also the Iranians or Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come. Okay, bear with me just 1 second. It says, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Okay, and this is going into Iran. Okay, they're gonna waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Is talking about America. Okay, how are they gonna waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians? Because they're gonna shoot missiles on America. Okay, that's what they're gonna do. they are going to shoot nuclear missiles on America. So ultimately, Iran has to have. Uh, eventually, they're going to get nuclear weapons, man. Okay, Iran in the future will get nuclear weaponry. And in Joel 3, I remember down at the bottom, Joel chapter 3, starting in verse 9. I'm starting verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, meaning the heathens. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So they're getting ready for war. Verse 10, beat your plowshares, which is an agricultural instrument, a tool, agricultural tool, like, you know, it says into swords, and your pruning hooks, which is another agricultural tool, into spears, right? So saying the money that these nations are using for agriculture, they're taking and spending it, all right, for war. Okay. Because let the weak say I am strong. That's the point. So those smaller, like less insignificant nations, all right, aka the weak, Iran, for example, all right, are gonna become strong because what? They're gonna have those nuclear they're gonna have those nuclear capabilities. You see? So eventually Iran is going to have nuclear weapons. All right, now let me just see if I could type something in. Why does why doesn't the US want Iran to have nuclear weapons? It says the United States opposes Iran acquiring nuclear weapons primarily due to concerns about regional instability, proliferation of nuclear weapons to other nations, and the potential for a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Additionally, the U.S. fears a nuclear-armed Iran could embolden Iranian actions in the region. Let the weak say, I am strong. It says, potentially leading to increased instability and conflict. Right? It says, in essence, the U.S. views the prospect of a nuclear-armed Iran as a significant threat to regional and global security, leading to its strong opposition to Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. All right. So I mean, they and the Lord is the one doing this. Okay, He's the one having these things, take place, so these prophecies can get fulfilled. This is Proverbs 21:1. It says, "The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. As the rivers of water, He turneth it whithersoever He will." Okay, I mean, it'd be a good eye to keep out on. It'd be a good thing to keep an eye out on Iran nuclear, Iran U.S. nuclear talks. It says it's going to be held in Rome. The next one. America's doing everything to make these nations around the world hate it. Okay. I remember they recently had one on Saturday. Well, not this Saturday, but a past Saturday, not too long ago. Look, down here, it says the talks with the U.S. again will be mediated by Oman. The Sultanate has hosted 2 rounds of talks in Oman's capital, Muscat, and 1 round at its embassy in Rome. The talks seek to limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of some of the crushing economic sanctions the U.S. has imposed on the Islamic Republic, closing in on a half century of enmity. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to unleash airstrikes targeting Iran's program if a deal isn't reached. So, he's talking hot. It says Iranian officials increasingly warned that they could pursue a nuclear weapon with their stockpile of uranium enriched to near weapons grade levels. All right. So, hey, there you have it, man. Lord's stirring it up currently. All right. But that was, one lesson I wanted to do regarding that. Iran eventually is going to get hold of nuclear weapons and it's going to lead, and they're going to use it during World War III. Okay. It's almost there, man. So, that was it pretty much for that lesson. So, hey, with that, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakodash, Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, never will. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. Shalom to the elect.